So, Mark, you know I love to go to Disney, but why do you got to go to Disney when you can go to the Las Vegas Strip? All over social media, our Las Vegas Minnie Mouse has become famous for, I don't know, hanging out, looking a little scruff, certainly not like at Disneyland.
I mean, this is like deeply affected me. I don't know what to say. Like, it's shocking. I mean, you realize it could be anybody in there, but you always just kind of assume it's probably a woman. And then Mickey's the man, like, and then you pull this out and it's just this grizzly old dude smoking a cigarette. Like, oh man, so bad.
We had this on our list to cover like a while ago, and then, other things came up, and then he came back around with another video. So I figured we had to finally out him. If you go see Minnie Mouse, this is what you're getting. I'm sure he does a great job, though, Mark.
Whatever.
A couple of years ago, I stayed at Aria and talked about how dirty the room was there. And we talked about how Aria's rooms really need a refresh. It's been a while. And we've seen anecdotally some issues. But this week we saw perhaps one of the worst videos I've seen come out of Aria. You saw mold in the showers. The person said that they fixed everything, got him in another room. But another sign that there might be housekeeping problems there. We still don't know anything about the room renovations. The Sky Suites were renovated in 2022. But nothing new about when they're going to renovate the regular rooms at Aria.
Yeah, I think Aria is just kind of living on past heyday, to be honest. And we went to a party in one of the suites before it was remodeled, and there was like poop on the side of the toilet, and it was just not clean. And we chalked it up to COVID and being short-staffed and all that stuff. Well, we're well past all that. Everybody's getting higher pay. You should be able to hire people, after the recent negotiations and everything. So this is just maybe they're not staffing it the way they should, or the management team's not going in and verifying that rooms are clean, because there's nobody that can go into that bathroom and not see the mold. It's big, it's dark, it's the first thing you look at. It's dripping down the wall. Like, that's just somebody went in there and said, oh, well, they don't care, I don't care. This isn't totally fair. Because maybe the cleaning staff did mention it and they just never got around to maintenance and never got around to doing anything about it. So I shouldn't say that, but somebody dropped the ball along the way, because there's no way that this goes unnoticed.
Yeah, it's really unacceptable to have in a hotel of any quality, let alone that quality, how that happens, how it doesn't get taken offline. My room a couple years ago was just, there was like 9 different areas that were dirty, so much so that I went to the front desk and asked the manager to go back to the room with me so he could see it. And just the sort of attitude I got at the front desk, they didn't believe me or whatever. It was true, and I showed him everything, and they gave me a suite, which was really nice, but that just shouldn't happen at Aria, and sad to see that. Glad they made it up to him, got him another room, but that mold is so obvious. It just should never happen.
Yeah.
No guest should ever see that.
Yeah, when you're charging record rates and you're $200 in the low season midweek and up to $400, $500, $600, like, that mold didn't just appear. That was probably there during F1 week when you're charging insane prices. Like, this is just unacceptable. You can't, if you want to charge $50, maybe you can get away with it. You can't charge that type of level and not do proper maintenance, proper cleaning, all that stuff.
Well, if you want to stay somewhere nice, go to the Aria of downtown, or the Downtown Grand. Probably not the Aria of downtown, but the rooms there are surprisingly nice. And that new gallery tower is really great. But they have a buy 2, get 1 free special right now on room rates. And I saw a lot of nights that were $45, so that brings it down to $30 plus their resort fee, like $220 for 3 nights out the door, so a little over $70 a night. So yeah, if you want to stay downtown, the rooms there are nice. That rooftop pool, very nice. The location good, because you're kind of detached from Fremont Street. So glad to see that they're offering these specials. We talked about all the food specials they've done before. They really are trying to attract people down there, and it is a nice property. I think the casino's a little dead though. That's my big complaint about it.
Yeah, I've only been in there once or twice, and the casino was always kind of a little dead, but some people might like that you're not having to wait to get a table or whatever. Or you're not crushed in the slot area like at Durango, stuff like that. So it's a great deal, even with the resort fee. But when you first go to book it and it's showing you like $140 for 3 nights or $120 or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, that's a really, really good deal. And then it hits you with another $120 in resort fees. You're like, oh crap. It's a sour taste. It'd be better if they just charged $70. I get why they do it. They want to keep the resort fees to themselves versus paying the Expedias and that of the world a chunk of that money. But it still just kind of upsets you, even though it shouldn't. We should be used to it.
All right, speaking of upset, guess what, Mark? The Bellagio Fountains are closed off again. The sidewalks are gone. They opened, I think, for about 2 weeks. The lanes that were next to the Bellagio, I don't believe they ever reopened. Those 2 lanes to the right. I drove by there last week. They were still closed. Now the sidewalk's closed. And of course, they're building that stage for the Super Bowl coverage. So another month or so before we get the fountains back, maybe 2 months, I don't know. And then we'll have them back for a few months. But this is kind of sad. And in a week where a lot of the smaller businesses in Las Vegas sort of railed against F1. There was like this letter from Ferraro's, the owner I read earlier today, talking about how he lost $2 million in business over the F1 sort of construction period. Yeah, I mean, are people, I'm so tired of complaining about this, but it just sucks. That's it. It sucks.
It feels like the only time we're going to get the Bellagio Fountains is going to be peak summer when it's hot and you might not want to be out there during the day. And then there's less trees there now, so you're not getting that shade either. It's just a different experience. I feel like we just kind of need to accept it at this point. This is the way Vegas is going, with Dorito chips on the side of a pyramid in Egypt and and signs everywhere. Like, it's a sellout. They're just whatever people want to pay for, they can get. So we saw that with Resorts World when they put, trolling up on their big screen. If you have money, corporation or not, they're going to do what you want. And it's sad to see. We need the mob back. They wouldn't be standing for none of this.
You don't think the mob would sell a Dorito chip ad on the side of their casino?
No.
No?
They have class. They have taste. I don't know. I'm just, I'd like to think not, but who knows? Probably.
So we just did our Laughlin video. It went live. It was our bonus episode this week. So check it out on the channel. It was our full road trip to Laughlin. We went to Prim, Gene, saw a lot of cool stuff along the way, plus all the Laughlin casinos. So check that out on the channel. So I went over to Sahara and wanted to go to Fontainebleau too, kind of get the vibe of walking. So we parked at Sahara, hadn't been there in a while. And I realized we hadn't shown off the new entrance on the channel. It opened in 2022. So it's been a little bit of time since this new entrance opened. Before it was very sort of plain. And now they've added some woods. They've really made it a very nice kind of sort of grand strip entrance. Love it. Inside, the renovations that they had done a few years ago are still there. Still like the casino, but on a weekday during the day, I mean, it was dead. And we'll talk about Fontainebleau in a minute. But Sahara, there's always people saying, how does this place survive? And based on what I saw, just dead on the north end of the strip, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday.
I feel like it's always been that way, though. I remember going, 15 years ago and it was dead in there. And that was like 4 different names ago. So it's just a bad location. It's hard. You're hoping that Fontainebleau and others in the area, Resorts World and that bring people down that way. It looks like a beautiful property after the remodeling and everything. They got the best hoodie in town, so if you can get one of those, they're great. Yeah, it's just kind of tough. And I don't understand why they spend so much money on these entryways. We saw it with Caesars and stuff. How many people actually drive up to that off the strip anymore? Back in the day, I get it. Most of the traffic came through there. But now Uber and Lyft and everything and self-parking, all that stuff's like behind the building. So few people, I feel like, even get to admire it. So I don't know if it's like the money best spent.
Yeah, with that, it's weird because their entrance used to be on the backside closer to their hotel registration. This strip entrance is nowhere near the hotel registration. But like I said, it's beautiful and it does add a big level of like, wow, as you come up to the property where it was just very nondescript before. But we went there so we could walk to Fontainebleau. And I kind of wanted to emulate the strip pedestrian experience and how people are going to get between these properties on the north end of the strip. And the more I thought about it as I was walking by the beautiful site of Wet n Wild / the defunct AllNet Arena, and what beautiful way it would look to have a water park there once again, I sort of kind of got the feeling that a lot of people aren't going to do this. They're not going to walk between these casinos on the north end of the strip as they're so disconnected. This really isn't a revelation. It's just a realization that everything is just too far apart. You stay at Wynn, you can go south, you can still get to Flamingo in the heart of the strip pretty easily. Once you're up at Fontainebleau, you're really disconnected. I guess you could cross the Circus, go over to Resorts World, Kitty Corner to Encore. But yeah, you're so disconnected. And Fontainebleau was equally as dead as Sahara, which is probably not a good sign.
Yeah, especially when we've talked about you going into Durango and seeing it busy every time you've been in there on multiple occasions now. And I think it just goes to show that, shame on the city for letting them hold that plot of land for as long as they did without developing it in any way. Imagine if that was something useful and how much better it would connect things and maybe would get more foot traffic. It would only help everybody else around it. So the fact that they let it sit there for decades is just a shame. And I'm glad they finally, stopped that. And hopefully somebody comes in and does something with it. Seems like the property is more valuable now than it ever has been before. So anybody with a vision, let's bring some theming to it.
And as you mentioned Durango, I was there the day after Durango about the same time. So, the day after I went to Durango where it was really busy, Fontainebleau slow. And I do recommend that walk if you don't want to pay, if you don't mind going to Sahara. It's a 5-minute walk between the two properties. It's not too bad if you don't mind looking at a pit in the ground.
It made it seem horrible.
No, it's just, I was just thinking, well, once you get to Fontainebleau, now, all right, so now how are we going to skip, and everything just feels so detached, and I do think that's a challenge. Fontainebleau did fix their art structure that they had to put those temporary ropes around. They painted the bottom gold. It was, I think, white before, so people kind of were bumping into it, and now this gold kind of makes it stand out more. And good news on the floors, walking around the property, saw very few scuffs. So maybe they figured out how to treat the floor so there's no scuff marks. Unfortunately, sitting down at a machine, Jasmine was playing over 30 minutes before a cocktail server came over. And like I said, it was dead. So I don't know. This isn't a place that I would go play very often, I don't think. As beautiful as it is, the atmosphere isn't what I love in a casino.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's less scuffs because there's no people to scuff them up, maybe. I don't know. But to see 30 minutes for a drink when it's not very busy is sad because, I mean, it could be just they have one person covering a huge area, but it's more likely that they just don't have good service even when it is busy and they're fully staffed. I'm just upset. Like, I didn't get to see it, so I still got to go see it in person, but everything I'm hearing, even from people that have gone and seen it, like, in the last couple of weeks, beautiful, but I wouldn't spend any time gambling there or staying there, just not my type of vibe. So I think they kind of made it like a niche target demographic there that they're going to struggle with. And hopefully they figure that out because it looks beautiful. They just need to get people in there.
Fontainebleau is still beautiful. Can't wait to stay there. We'll be staying there soon so I can do a full sort of envelop myself in the property. But it's not a place I'm loving these days all too much. Although, again, it's beautiful. You should see it. Everybody should see it. As a reminder, we now have our Patreon. You can get our weekly after show, $5 a month, get you access to that. You can listen to it as a podcast. You can watch it with all the visuals, patreon.com/MTM Vegas. Thanks to everybody who supports us over there. So there's an interesting article about homes being swapped like stocks. And there was this big sort of exchange of homes from Starwood Capital Group to Invitation Homes. They sold 264 homes in Las Vegas all at once for $98 million. And we're starting to see this era where homes are treated sort of like mortgages were, where they're all batched together as securities and sold off in chunks. Las Vegas, one of the most unaffordable markets in the country. Rents are really high. Rent defaults are very high.
You know, big investment firms owning a large chunk of cities. It was probably not a good thing. Like, we never saw this, 20, 30 years ago, and housing was a lot more affordable for people. And we've talked about Vegas pricing out the workers in the casinos. Housing just keeps going up and up and up, and interest rates are high. And I think this has a lot to do with it, is the investment, one, for, short-term rentals versus long-term rentals, and two, just the investment firms buying up a ton of properties right and left and kind of holding on to them.
This Review Journal article I'll link to quotes Noah Herrera, who's a big real estate agent here, a guy I've known for 15 plus years, a guy who was doing a lot of the buying agent work for these big companies back in 08, 09 when they were buying masses of properties. And it's really interesting just to see how it's changed the demographics of Las Vegas, understand what's going on. It's a nutty thing in 2024 United States, but thought it was worth mentioning because it's such a big deal for Las Vegas.
And, as we drove around Vegas for the Laughlin, shout out to the Laughlin bonus video. Definitely check it out. Probably my favorite one we've done. As we were driving around town, I kept mentioning how close together all the houses were, and just it's like packed like sardines, and the prices are astronomically high for what you get. It's disheartening.
You just like the Laughlin video because I put your face on the cover photo for it on the thumbnail. So that was Mark mocking the atrium at Golden Nugget, and I used that as the thing when he was saying, wow.
Greenhouse.
Yeah, something like that. So check it out. So when I was out Fontainebleau, one of our viewers ran into me, and he happened to have emailed me a couple days before. He was staying at Delano, and he said that the bellman there said Delano is about to get a refresh, saying also that Mandalay Bay and Four Seasons are getting refreshes. So we don't really know. I haven't heard anything about this. We saw those MGM Grand mock-up rooms come up a couple weeks ago, and we know MGM's been going through all of their properties and their portfolio, so this could happen. Delano opened 20 years ago. I didn't realize it was that old. It, of course, opened as the hotel at Mandalay Bay, and it stayed that way till 2014 when it changed into Delano, and that's when it had that refresh with those white Miami-style rooms. So maybe due for a refresh, but I still love that property. But we'll keep an eye on it, and thanks to John for letting us know.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised at that because I stayed there a year and a half ago, and I didn't think it needs anything. It's almost like a waste. Is it just me? I feel like they're perfectly fine. They're nice. They're clean. It's kind of the light white vibe that everybody's going to anyway. Maybe it's a little bit more bluish or gray now, but I don't think it feels out of place or out of date at all. Put the money into Aria. Let's clean that up instead.
Yeah, and this is still a rumor or hearsay, so we don't know, but I agree with you. They hold up pretty well. I do think the lobby of Delano, while I love it, does not match the rooms, right? The rooms are so white and bright in Miami, and the lobby is very dark woods and very dark, so maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe this is just, a light refresh. We don't know, but we'll keep an eye out on it and see what we can find out as time goes on.
How about they spend the money and do more than one wave every 15 minutes in the pool? Maybe that would help.
Okay, somebody has a beef with the wave pool at Mandalay Bay. Okay, that's a very obscure issue that you have right there.
It's like the saddest thing ever. It's like one wave. All right, see you in 10. I mean, like, what's the point? It's not wave pool.
All right, let's move north a little bit to Luxor. And I'm excited because I get to talk carpet here for a second. But before we do that, that playground, that immersive playground that they're building on the second story has announced that it's going to open January 18th of 2024. Right now, construction walls are still up. I'll throw some video up on the screen so you can see exactly where it is on the second floor in the atrium. 15,000 square feet. This is all old school, right? They said they're going to have tactical experiences. None of this tech stuff. Tickets are going to be $37 and up, so it's not going to be cheap. But I'm excited for this. I think it's an interesting thing, and we don't really have anything else like it in Vegas.
Yeah, of course they're opening like 3-4 weeks after I was there, or maybe like 6. But no, it looks really cool, and I love that they got like the throwback games in there. The one that like shakes and pops off and it's up on the wall with the big pieces. But that looks really cool. I mean, $37 feels a little high initially, but it is Vegas, so maybe it's a weird number anyway. Just make it like 40 or 35. We'll have to see if that comes down. Maybe they go up on Groupon or something like that in the future. But I think it's worth checking out. Where is this located, though? I walked all around Luxor. I don't remember seeing like anything under construction that this would fit in. It's just kind of blowing my mind right now.
It's just on the second story atrium right between the theaters, right next to the theaters there. So
there was like no signs
right where the
or anything
obelisk
for it.
is, just right next to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they really, the last time I was there, they didn't have, and when you were there, I didn't see the big construction walls. I don't know if they changed it or whatever, but it's very obvious where it is now. And as I said, everybody in the audience will have seen it by now because I will have thrown the video up there. But let's talk Luxor a little bit more. I finally got to see the Dorito chip installers there. So the Dorito chip is pretty much done except for the corners. And by now of recording this, it's done completely. But I got to see how they do this. And the guys are suspended from the top of the pyramid with a rope at the bottom. And they're just sitting there rappelling down, squeegeeing this on the side. What a job.
Yeah, how do you get into this line of work? Like, are you a window cleaner and then you somewhat do promotional stuff on the side? I don't know. And then it's always, like we saw with F1 when they put the sticky up on the walkways and everything, that's a lot easier to put on than it is to get off. I mean, could you imagine scraping that in the heat? Oh, it's going to be terrible. But it's kind of amazing how well that it comes together. And what a great job they did, but I would not look forward to taking that stuff off.
Now, it seems MGM is putting new carpet in a lot of their properties. We saw New York get new carpet. We've seen other refreshes, and Luxor is getting new carpet. And Luxor's carpet before was sort of drab, I don't know, like browns and purples, but very muted colors. And this new carpet is anything but that. It's very bright. It's very vibrant. The whole second story atrium is already done, and they're working on the casino now. There's all kinds of little theming in it. There's pyramids and different hieroglyphs and everything like that. Big, bright colors. I feel like this is going to brighten the place up a lot, which it needs. And I'm very excited for this, not only because the carpet is themed, but because I think it adds a lot to the space.
Yeah, we saw that over at Mandalay Bay. The new carpet looked great over there. So this kind of gives me similar feels to that. And I will say, I think I've mentioned on the show, I wish they would have done like the casino on the atrium floor because it's so open and airy and it feels just better. And downstairs feels kind of like dark and depressing. So this is definitely needed. Hopefully it brightens up the place. It just feels kind of like, this will help out, I think.
Yeah, you make a good point with MGM and all their new carpets, the one at New York, the one at Mandalay Bay. They're brighter and they're more vibrant. So they're going in a very different direction, I think, with their designs. And I think every time I've seen new carpet, it's been an improvement. I hate to make this a whole carpet thing, but I was really excited. People sent that to me and I ran over there to go film it. So I hope you all enjoy looking at this.
Somebody called me out. I think it was in the Laughlin video. They're like, I don't get why you like carpet so much. I'm like, that's John. It's not me.
Well, you're the one who put the Twitter thread of all the carpets that you saw.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah. But it was fun. I did Luxor. I hung out a little bit. Got to go to a Golden Knights game. I hadn't been to one in a little bit. Of course, they lost. That sucked, but it was a great night out on the Strip, filming pedestrian bridges, contemplating all the laws that were being broken every time somebody stopped. That's a great night in Vegas these days. Everything looking good. This is a beautiful time of year, though, with the weather cool at night. I love walking around the Strip at night when it's cool outside and it gets dark early. You get the lights on. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think April is my favorite month just because it gets to like 65 to 75, somewhere in there. You can still wear shorts during the day when it's sunny out, and then it gets nice and cool at night where you can can, put a sweater on if you want and stuff like that. So I think that's more my style, but I get you, after you've been through the whole summer and everything, this probably feels great.
Last tip, ride the New York roller coaster at night in the winter. Dark, beautiful things. It's nice and cool outside. That's the way to do it. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think about that, about the new carpet at Luxor, about Fontainebleau, Sahara, anything else we talked about on this show. That playground, you're going to go down the slide for $37. Hit us up there. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.
I was hoping for you to do like a Smokey impression of him. It's okay.
I work real hard.